Oh, hey everybody, Poppin here. OBS froze as I started. Got another draft review for you. A third draft in the LCD, almost any ability league. This time we're doing it bigger. We have more coaches than ever, bigger divisions than ever. So this time we went from, I think 16 coaches total to a total of 32. So double. That's right now, not 32. 36, I think? 36. So more than double, which is awesome. So we have our new season. So a new opportunity to think of wacky strategies and more fun things to do in this season. So when I was looking at the draft, I had some plans for what I wanted to do. I did not get anywhere close to first pick. I'm pretty sure I was picked 15 out of 16. Or no, sorry, 11 out of 12. So yeah, definitely not going to get Dragapult like I did last season. No Dragonite, no Tapu Fini. I was looking at Weavile, not a shot, gone. All the really, really good mons, like the 20 pointers, I think they went the first 5 picks, all 5 of them. So didn't have a shot, but you know what? That didn't really bother me. I knew what I wanted. I had figured it out midway through last season, what I wanted. And it's a Pokemon that has a very, it's kind of flies under the radar. Nobody's picked any of these other seasons so far, I don't think. And I know I've definitely never used it before. It's not very highly ranked in competitive singles, but part of that is because it has a really lame, boring ability that doesn't really do much for it. But the reason I drafted this mon was because of this one specific move that it has. And let me show you right here. Oops, I'm not typing. I picked Necrozma for my first pick, which you might be thinking, that's a legendary Pokemon, you can't pick that. It's not a very good legendary. It's only 600 base stats, so more like a mythical than anything else. But the reason why I picked Necrozma is for that one attack, and that one attack is Photon Geyser, which is a 100 base power psychic move that goes off your physical or special attack, whichever is higher. So instantly right there, this thing has good enough mixed attack where I can go either way. It also learns good boosting moves for both sides, like it gets Calm Mind, it gets Dragon Dance, it might get Swords Dance too. But either way, I can instantly have the mix-up right there where you don't know which you have to prepare for until it's too late, until I already start boosting. And the best part about Photon Geyser, because there's other moves that do that, right? You can use like the Shell Sidearm, which is kind of the same thing, a little different, but the real nice part about Photon Geyser is that it ignores Unaware. You cannot stop me from clicking Photon Geyser and deal... Oh, hold up. Scam Likely's calling. You cannot stop me from clicking Photon Geyser and just wrecking shit with whatever I click this against. Unless it's a dark type, obviously. In which case, this is a note to any of my opponents. A dark type with Unaware is the way to get through Necrozma. FYI. But besides that, it does get some really good moves as well. So it doesn't just need to be a setup machine every single week. It has Knockoff, Stealth Rock, and Double Screens, which is super frustrating for a mon this bulky that also has moves to heal itself. It has Morning Sun and Morning Sun and Moonlight. So I can heal myself for 50%. Hell, I can even use both if I want more than 8 PP. But I really like Necrozma. It's decently bulky. It has good offenses, and it has a good enough move pool to do whatever it wants. Only thing I really wish this thing had a pivot option. It doesn't even get Baton Pass or Teleport, but that's okay. It can make up for it with its bulk. It's definitely a great Regen Vest user. Good Poison Heal mon, very bulky, hard to take down. Or I can honestly just go with some kind of like boost. I could just do Intrepid Sword Necrozma and start smashing stuff with Photon Geyser and taking lives that way. So I really like Necrozma. It's also a super cool design, really abstract and dark and menacing. So a nice little edgy first pick there. But like I said before, it does have one pretty clear way to beat it, which is a dark type with Unaware, and maybe throw a Toxic on it, and then I'll slowly start to die. But I had to cover my bases. Since I was so close to the wheel, I could pick mons kind of in duos. So I wanted to get something that could deal with dark types very, very easily. And for that, I picked Tapu Coco. So Tapu Coco is a really nice top end in my draft for speed. I don't really need to go out of my way to draft anything higher than Tapu Coco, so I knew this would be the peak. And the reason why I picked Tapu Coco is because Electric Surge is a great ability. Even might be worth running Electric Switch Tapu Koko just regularly, not even just pretending it's not even almost any ability, just do a straight up normal Tapu Koko could be value in that. But it with the when you can make it have any ability, you can really start to make use of that base 115 attack. And the reason I say that is because this thing has electric and fairy typing, which is sick. Lots of resists, only 2 weaknesses, and just enough bulk to take 1 neutral hit and a couple resisted hits. Maybe 1 super effective if you EV it right. But this typing is awesome. And it's decent offensively as well, except Tapu Koko doesn't have any good physical stab for either of these types. It and Bulu didn't get play rough because Game Freak hates them. Well, because Game Freak knows that these Tapus are mons to look out for. But yeah, it doesn't get play rough. I think it gets Wild Charge, but Wild Charge sucks. So what can it do instead? It can do Galvanize. It can do Pixelate. And if I choose to do Pixelate, I have a incredibly strong, I think this is the fastest and might be one of the strongest fairy types if you choose to do that. So it's a humongous pain in the ass, and it gets a lot of support moves too. Great pivoting option, U-turn, so it can't get blocked by grounds, Volt Switch if I want to get a little bit of extra damage off, Defog so it can run in a supportive way if I'm worried about hazards, and it also gets dual screens, Taunt, and Roar, which probably will never use Roar on Tapu Koko. With Tapu Koko, you want to go first, not last, so this isn't really the mon for Roar, but it's a mon for all these other options. Very physically potent, still specially powerful as well. It gets a lot of good stuff, and it's just so hard to prep for because it's so incredibly fast. You have to run lots of plus speed nature mons with scarfs to get around Coco, and it's so fast it can pivot out even if you try to get them in. So I really like Tapu Koko, and I think it's a very, very potent threat here. But with the 2 mons I have so far, another thing that can kind of get in my way is like a bulky steel type, right? Because Necrozma can't really do much against that. Sure, it gets earth power. Tapu Koko's best bet is to switch out. So I wanted something to help deal with steel types and just generally apply more offensive pressure. And because I like to play that way. As much as I like passive defensive play, I don't think that works very well in draft. You can see that one season where I drafted a full single stall team and then switched out all the mons after the first week because I hated it. So I picked Cinderace, which you wouldn't typically think of as a good mon for almost any ability because its viability, say, in VGC is pretty much solely due to its ability, right? You have a mon that can change types and be a humongous pain in the ass that way. And almost any ability, you don't have any native users, and we do have Libero and Protean banned, unless you do pick Cinderace or Greninja, because the league is nice enough to let me use those abilities if I wanted to. So I picked Cinderace. Someone had already picked Greninja, but I was planning on picking Cinderace anyways. Cinderace is more offensively potent than Greninja is, in my opinion. Can't go mixed, but it gets enough stuff on the physical side to not really need to go mixed. You can't really Dynamax it and do like Max Lightning like we've seen before in the past in VBL seasons. Like there were 2 weeks where it was 2 different seasons. Week 1, a coach ran like Electro Ball Dynamax Cinderace with like Scorching Sands and other stuff, and it just wrecked house. It was so cool, but I can't really do that here. It doesn't have the high enough base power without Dynamax, but with physical moves, it does a great job. And it gets to make use of something that Cinderace has for singles that it doesn't really ever get the chance to show in doubles. You could use it as a weird tech, but it's not really worth it when you have to take 2 attacks in a turn. And that's Court Change. It doesn't even show up on this list because it's a signature move. But if I run Magic Guard, this thing is instantly permanent hazard control, essentially. If you want to set up hazards on me, I get a Cinderace for free, swap them around, and now you've spent 3 turns setting up your own hazards against yourself. Great job, Bozo. So, yeah, Cinderace is a great mon, and doesn't have to run Magic Guard. It can run Libero totally fine, totally unrestricted, and that's a totally viable way to run this thing. You have to watch out for Magic Guard, like I said. You have to watch out for Desolate Land. There's lots of things this mon can do, and I'm looking forward to using it. It also has another great speed tier, 1 point shy of 120, which kind of sucks, but 119 is still better than most things you're going to run into. So with these 3, I had a pretty solid offensive core down, and I wanted to have something that can kind of help them get in easier, and Vaporeon is a perfect option for that. It's a super bulky water, my favorite evolution, so happy I finally get to draft it. And the fact that it gets Wish and Flip Turn is humongous. Being able to pass Wishes off of 130 base HP is incredible for Tapu Koko. That's almost a full heal every time it comes back in. Same with Cinderace, and even Necrozma can get a lot of help from that. It's the highest base HP stat on my team, so anytime it passes a Wish successfully, something is healing at least 50%, if not significantly more. So I really like Vaporeon for that, coupled with the really slow flip turn. And if I do face an opponent that has a mon that'll pretty obviously run Desolate Land or Water Absorb or something, it also gets Baton Pass. Not as ideal. Could pass a Leech Seed with it, but it's better than my attack fizzling out in the sunshine or getting absorbed. So it has other options of pivoting instead of just flip turn. And it has a kind of similar story to Snorlax, right? Really high HP, only 30 less, which is still a lot, but 130 is, again, a big number. And a 130 HP with a 60 defense, you can, if you go max into defense, you can still make this mon very, very bulky overall. And 95 special defense is also very high. This is kind of like, this is just like a water type Snorlax with a better supportive move pool and less power behind it. You don't get the poison heal facades, but you get the wishes, you get the flip turns. Dude, man, if Snorlax got flip turn or baton pass, that'd be so sick. Or teleport even. So yeah, that's what Vaporeon does. It's really great paired with the rest of my team. And it has the power to go offensive if it wants to. 110 is not nothing. It's higher than Tapu Koko's special attack, and that thing always goes special in OU. So not unprecedented to go with. So my next pick, there was a long break between this pick and my next one. I think the next pick was Celebi. Wait, let me pause real quick. So I lied, Celebi wasn't my next pick, but it was Wheel, so it doesn't matter. They're kind of picked at the same time. So we'll talk about Celebi first. Celebi's great. It's a good grass type. It does have the downside of being a grass and psychic type, having every weakness under the sun, but it does enough other good stuff. Actually, look at this. It has interactions with so many types, either resisting or weak to them. So that's why I like Celebi. It has a lot of good resists coupled with a lot of weaknesses, so you just have to kind of play it a little bit safer, but when you can get it in on resisted hits, it just eats them up because 100, 100, 100 is amazing defenses. But the reason I like Celebi is it can do a lot of different stuff. If we go through the list here, we have U-turn, knockoff, or U-turn trick. Trick's always useful. You get Stealth Rock, which I actually didn't know, and then dual screens. But part of Celebi's real potential is just in the moves that it learns. It learns both of the relevant terrain moves, Grassy Glide and Psychic or Expanding Force. So you have to prep for a Grassy Glider and an Expanding Forcer all in one mon. So it makes most teams want to bring some way of terrain control themselves, and that can always give up useful abilities on other mons to be forced into doing a specific kind of thing. Also highly encourages you to bring a Steel type that Cinderace can then nuke. So those are two totally viable options for Celebi. It also can play the role of an incredible Magic Bounce pivot, get in, reflect shit back at them, set up a Leech Seed, and then you turn out. Lots of good stuff there. It can also be a good triage user with what do you call it? It gets Nasty Plot with Giga Drain, which obviously Grass doesn't have the best coverage, but it gets other moves like, I think it's Earth Power, and I know it gets Aura Sphere. So Grass, Ground, and Fighting probably covers most things. Obviously you're missing Flying types, but there's teammates to take care of that. So Celebi is really nice. I think it can also be a good unaware user if I need to switch it in. Like I said, it has some really key resistances to a lot of types, decently common types too. Ground, Fighting, Water, Electric, Grass, all super common, and Celebi resists them. So it's a good piece. I think it's a really solid addition to the team that I think will probably be coming more often than I would expect it would. So at this point in the draft, when it came to my second two wheelish picks, I realized most of the good Steel types were gone, and I don't think the mon that I picked would have come back to me. And that would have made a real shame because then I would have been totally just SOL on walling potential and defensive capabilities. So I went and I picked the original OG Steel Flying type, Skarmory. Unfortunately, Skarmory's thunder has kind of been stolen by its imposters over the last couple gens. Celesteela and Corviknight are two of the best mons in this format, but Skarmory's not far behind, and it's significantly cheaper, and it gets hazards, which is sick. So Skarmory, we get Stealth Rock and Spikes, can defog them away, so again, another one-man hazard machine. Skarmory does have the very, very glaring flashing lights weakness of it's a Steel type, it's weak to electric, it'll get hit by Magnet Pull and die. So most weeks it will have a Shed Shell, or maybe that's just me poisoning the well to make you think I'm running a Shed Shell. Who knows? But yeah, Skarmory, it's decently one-dimensional, but that dimension is really powerful physical bulk. 65 HP sucks. 140 base defense does not suck. You can run fully Spadef to have it just be as bulky as possible in general, or you can go full on physical to wall anything to hell and back, unless, I don't know, maybe a Tapu Koko or Cinderace, but oops, I got both of those mons. So, yeah, Skarmory is really, really good. Great pivot. As long as it doesn't get knocked off, it's decently safe throughout the match, and just it's a mon that never dies, right? And it's always good to have those on your team. So, up next, let me actually check. I think I know what these last two were, but I want to make sure that I'm not lying. Okay, yeah, I do know what they were. So, next, my picks were, oh, so, story before this one. Well, I guess I'll just type in it. It's Tyranitar. I really like Tyranitar. I've used it before as Mega Tyranitar in my first singles draft league, and it put in a lot of work. And I've always wondered about Tyranitar. It has really, really good stats, and it has a really good ability, but its ability is kind of one note and doesn't always synergize with the rest of the team. Having Sand Chip on your bulky mons like Vaporeon and Celebi isn't the best. And it has some pretty notable 4x weakness. Well, it doesn't have multiple. It has 1 for fighting, but it's a huge weakness, and a lot of mons learn fighting coverage, so I was a bit nervous drafting it, but I think these stats and its high attack power make up for it. And it also gives me a couple crucial things that my team was lacking. A Dark type, which I didn't even have last season, which made expanding force spam way harder to deal with. It gives me a Pursuit user, which I also didn't have last season, because I forgot Pursuit existed, so I didn't even think about drafting it. And it just gives me a really bulky mon that could be great as a Regen Vest user. So that's one totally viable way of running T-Tar. It's another Stealth Rocker. It's a setup threat with Dragon Dance. It's a bit on the slow side, so you might need 2 dances before you get going. But it can run a lot of stuff. It learns a ton of coverage moves. It can even run special. Like in the past, there was the Tyrannoboa set from the old days that's has special. And I think Tyrannoboa has Ice Beam on it. I think, or maybe it's Fire Blast. One of the two. But 95 special attack isn't nothing. It's better than. I mean, hey, it's tied with Tapu Koko. I already gave that as kind of a good baseline for. If you have good power, if you have a good enough base power behind the moves, 95 is definitely more than enough to get the job done. Especially if you can give it like maybe download, send it in. It can do mixed, so you can choose which side of the spectrum you want to hit. So Tyranitar is really good. I think it's really cool, and it has decent team potential as well. It can be a good pivot. Get in, tank a really strong hit with my good defenses, and then get on out of there and regenerate some health. So at this point, I had spent lots of points. These are all very expensive mons. I had not picked any value mons or low tier mons yet. So when it came time for my turn, a lot of the good stuff had been snatched. But I did see one thing that was totally open, and I wanted it the second I saw it. It's your boy Drampa, who I've also drafted before in my first singles league, but I never actually used it. So why is Drampa good? 135 special attack is awesome. 70, 85, 91, good enough. But the real reason you want to run Drampa is because it gets a couple moves that are really nice when they go first. It gets Glare, it gets Roost, I think it gets Calm Mind, and it gets Nature Power. What does Nature Power do? Well, it turns into an attack based on the terrain type, and if it's no terrain, it's a normal attack, which gets Stab, and I think it's Tri-Attack, so you have Hacks chances there too. So Drampa's a very good setup threat. If you can delete your opponent's terrain control, well, if you can secure terrain control for yourself, you're pretty much good to go with Drampa. It can boost up and just plow through your opponent's team. It does get countered by Dark types because if a prankster move calls an attack and then it targets a Dark type, it gets blocked, which sucks. But that's kind of what happens. And I mean, it's a decent mon for like it was, I think, 6 points. So anything that can fire off a Draco from 135 special attack for 6 points is it's a steal in my book. So that's Drampa, very good. I think it gets. Actually, I don't want to put that in here. Actually, wait. Does Drampa get a pivoting move? I think it might get Baton Pass. No, it doesn't. Okay, never mind. So it makes it a little worse, but still, good mon. Like it. So I come down to my last 2 picks. I have 5 points left, and I'm again just kind of sifting through the garbage looking for the shit that's left at the bottom of the barrel. And I found 2 mons that I think are good enough. So the first one I picked it's another mon that I was looking at in the past. It was actually for the BDSP draft. I was really thinking of drafting Poliwrath. And let me tell you why. Poliwrath is a water and fighting type. Good coverage. No shared weaknesses between the two. Decent resistances. It gives me a nice rock resist, which I didn't have before. And Poliwrath is really bulky. 90, 95, 90 is actually really good. I think it's the second or third bulkiest thing on my... Well, actually, no, never mind. I have T-Tar and Skarmory and Necrozma. Never mind. And Celebi. So it's decently bulky, though. It's good enough to come in, take a hit. And it gets a couple really cool moves. It gets Circle Throw to force switches. It gets Hypnosis if I want to run. If I could do No Guard Poliwrath with Hypnosis and Dynamic Punch and just ruin my opponent's days, because it's definitely strong enough to live a hit. On the switch, you hit it with Dynamic Punch and confuse it, and then you hope and pray that they don't wake up and they hit themselves. So that's Poliwrath. Good typing. Decent. Not too strong, but it can get the job done, I think. And then last but not least, we came down to the very last mon in the draft. For 2 points, it's another steal. I think it's a great value pick. It's Persian. Persian gets a lot of really good moves. You can see here, we have U-Turn, Knockoff, Trick, essentially, with Switcheroo, Taunt, Roar, which, again, it's a fast mon, so you probably wouldn't do that. But another reason why I picked Persian, really one of the big reasons why I picked Persian, it's an incredible no-guard user. Obviously, it doesn't have the power that Gengar has, but it is faster. But it gets Sing, which is better than Hypnosis because it goes through Substitute, and it gets Zap Cannon. So this thing is the ultimate status spreader. It's so fast it outpaces most things anyway, but if you give it a Scarf or a Sash, it'll be fine. So you can Sing something to sleep that's slower than you, paralyze something that's faster than you after taking a hit with a Sash, and then something else switches in, you trade items, and then you turn out of there and you're all good to go. Or you can even just knock off items. So yeah, Persian is a really nice final little icing on the cake there. Probably won't bring it very often, but if it does show up, you have to be prepared for this thing to absolutely wreck your shit and give you just a bad day. So that's the team. Overall, we look at it. I have lots and lots of options. I don't have a Toxic Spike user, which sucks. It would be nice to have. There's lots of mons that in this format that can be very tough to take down if you don't have Toxic, but everything on my team gets Toxic pretty much, except for Cinderace. Stupid Gen 8 mon. But I do have ways to get through bulkier teams, I think, and Photon Geyser is a big part of that. So I like my team. I think they actually all mesh together decently well. Only net weaknesses are Ground, which is pretty common to have, and Fairy. Thankfully, I have one of the best Fairy types, and I have 2 really good Ground answers through Celebi and Skarmory. So I think I should be okay. I guess TBD. Yeah, this is one of the cooler teams I've drafted. I definitely... I'm super excited to use it. I can't wait for this first week to start. And I'm just excited to get creative with these mons and see how they do. So definitely open for team revisions. I usually do make some of those in this league. But we will have to see how it goes. So yeah, that's the team. Looking forward to week 1 here. And I will see you in the next one. Peace.